And this is the Upper Room with Joe Kelley right here on WVOF. And we've been listening right now to a selection from Vital Information, Show 'em Where You Live. And that was Cranial number 3, Azul. And the man who is leading this band, terrific ensemble, Tom Coster on the keys, Browne on bass, Frank Gambale on guitar, and of course, Steve Smith on drums. And one of the most versatile and talented musicians around. He's been a friend here to the Upper Room with Joe Kelley, and he's currently on tour with Vital Information. And we're going to welcome once again to the Upper Room with Joe Kelley, Mr. Steve Smith. How you doing, Steve?
Good, Joe. Nice to talk to you again.
Coming through loud and clear?
Good. Yeah, I hear you. You hear me okay here?
Perfect. And I'll let you know, we moved into new studios last week, and you are the first interview via phone, so it's coming through real nice. We got a nice studio here.
Great. Well, congratulations on the new studio. That's exciting.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And this is one of your rare off days, right, before you get back in the tour?
Yeah, well, we're currently on tour right now, but yeah, we don't have to play tonight. We're in Washington, D.C., and have a night off. So it's actually a very nice city to have a night off. And turns out Santana's playing in town tonight, so we were talking to Dennis Chambers and Benny Rietfeld and the guys, and might go down to see them tonight.
Well, did you hear what happened last night in D.C.?
No, what happened last night?
Well, Prince was in town at the Warner Theater, and
Dennis told me Prince. He saw Prince last night.
Yeah, and Carlos Santana jumped on stage to do a couple numbers.
Oh, right. Okay, so that's what happened. Yeah.
And I don't know.
Dennis he enjoyed it. He thought it was a great show. He had a good time.
Oh, that's great. So,
yeah.
You know, you've got a great band. Everybody's still intact, or some new additions with Vital Information?
No, it's the same group that we've had for at least 3 years now, going 3 to 3.5 years, with Browne on bass, and Tom Coster on the keyboards, and Frank Gambale on the guitar. And Frank and Tom have been with me about 15 years now, really quite a long time. And Barron's the newest member, but even, he's been in the band over 3 years now.
So with your extensive catalog, I mean, every time I look, there's a new CD coming out with yourself somehow in it.
It seems that way.
Yeah, it seems that way. How do you go about finding a new project as far as what you're going to be creative on? How does that usually evolve?
Well, it depends. When it comes to the CDs that I do for the Tone Center record label, the president of that company, Mike Varney, he's constantly on my case to think up projects and try to put them together and produce them. So I've actually thought of and attempted to put together even more than actually has happened, because some of them don't always pan out because of people's availability or willingness to want to do a particular project. But I fantasize of like players that I want to work with this guy, I'd like to work with this guy, and then he's just said, okay, let's just go for it. So, it started off, I don't know how many years ago now, like about 3 years ago, I think, when he first came up with the idea of a high-energy fusion project, and he said, what two guys would you really want to play with? And I said, how about Scott Henderson and Victor Wooten?
Wow. Just
sort of joking, and he goes, call them up, let's make it happen. So I did, and it happened, and that actually is what started the Tone Center record company, because once we completed that record, and he was going to put it out on Shrapnel Records, the three of us really objected, because Shrapnel is more of a heavy metal connotation. If you know of the artist
right
on that label, that's more heavy metal. So we said, that's not going to work. So then he says, well, I've been thinking of starting a fusion label. Maybe let's do it with this. So as soon as that was done, then he said, okay, now that I have my fusion label, I need more records. So that's when I put together the record with Frank Gambale and Stu Hamm and Tom Coster and Larry Coryell and then the Buddies, and just kept going from there with The Stranger's Hand with Jerry Goodman and Howard Levy, Oteil Burbridge. I just started trying to think of all these combinations. So, and then some of them did so well, we ended up doing a second record. Like we did a VTT2, Vital Tectones 2, with Scott and Victor, and then we did another one with Stu and Frank. And actually, we have a third one with Stu and Frank in the can that's going to come out probably in the summer or something like that. We call it GHS3. It's really a pretty nice new record that includes some new directions because we have Frank Gambale playing acoustic guitar on some of it. So, but still high energy, but we're using the acoustic guitar with the drums and bass, which is pretty nice. And then, then we did the one with Larry Coryell and Kai Eckhart, Steve Marcus, called Count's Jam Band. And
you got everybody together, the reunion.
Yeah,
right.
So it's just, we just keep thinking of these projects. And then with this new Vital Information record, my Intuition record company that I'm signed to in Europe has been putting out the records, but the new Vital Information record, Show 'em Where You Live, what you just played from, is going to come out on Tone Center here in the U.S. He bought the rights for the U.S., so it will be on Tone Center coming out April 9th, which is the next week, coming up next Tuesday.
Wow. So people can go to your website for vitalinformation.com, and there's information on the tour, which Steve Smith is currently underway with his friends touring right now, and also ordering information in the discography and go there right now.
There.
Yeah,
it's all there.
And
then there are still other projects that come up by people calling me. So there's a band that we call Summit. That's a new group of people that we have an album coming out in the fall and also a tour in the fall, and that came about with a saxophone player named George Brooks, who wrote all this music of Indian style music and Western mixture. And so this group has Kai Eckhart on bass, Farid Haq on guitar, and Zakir Hussain on tabla, and myself on drums. So this is a record that we've already done, and we'll be out touring in the fall. So that's going to be pretty fun, pretty different.
So for any of the projects you get with such a diverse array of musicians, are there any projects that have happened that, as a drummer, took you a while to get into it, or?
Especially the Indian music. I did a tour last year with a tabla player from Calcutta named Sandeep Burman.
Oh, wow. We missed that one. Yeah.
Yeah, on that tour, we actually used sort of the core group was The Stranger's Hand. It was Jerry Goodman on violin, Howard Levy on harmonica and keyboards. We had Victor Bailey on bass and Randy Brecker on trumpet, and I played drums, and then Sandeep played tabla. And this music was very difficult for all of us because of the nature of the Indian music having so many unfamiliar rules, for lack of a better word, or just concepts. Most of it was in odd times, and really odd times. Like, for example, one of the tunes was in 5 1/4, which I didn't even know what that meant. But once he explained it to me, it's in 21/16. So that's not something that you play every day. Or a tune in 8 1/2, which is another way of saying 17/8. Because he gets the 16 and then he adds an extra beat. So so that's 17. And then there was just, the simple ones were like in 5 or 7. So that was hard. And then all the rhythmic motifs that you have to learn to play the music was difficult. So that was hard, but I learned a lot doing it, which in turn set me up to then play with Zakir Hussain, who I've done a little recording with, but nothing where it was Indian music. He was just playing on a project I was involved with called Yo Miles. It's a project that's the Miles Davis music of the 70s, the electric Miles. And he came in and played on some tracks, so it wasn't me going to his turf, which is a whole nother world. So that's the hardest so far for me. Is that but I'm really interested in it because it's rhythmically so advanced.
And if you just tuned in, my special guest this afternoon is Steve Smith, very accomplished drummer and just all sorts of group. Also with Journey. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Journey, and also Vital Information, his group. He's currently on tour. And let me give the folks some of the dates. Tomorrow night you'll be, and you're in D.C. right now, but you are going to be playing at the Blues Alley. And
right.
then making the trek up to New York City in Greenwich Village, NYU area, West 4th Street at the Bottom Line. You played there several times, right?
Sure, we played there a lot, yeah.
And then Friday evening.
That's on the 4th. We're going to play there.
Right, this Thursday. And then Friday, you're going to be in Huntington, New York at the IMAC Theater.
Right.
And moving along. Yeah, Saturday night, you're going to be in Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre at Murray's Inn. 2 shows that night, 9 and 11 p.m., also appearing the Dave Liebman Group. And then you're coming to Connecticut on Tuesday, April 9th at 7:30 p.m. at the Colony in Vernon, Connecticut. Let me give the folks the number right now before we get moving along. 860-647-8887. That's Vital Information at the Colony in Vernon, Connecticut. And then Wednesday at the Iron Horse, Northampton. And then you're going to be moving along to some drum clinics at Western Connecticut State University on the 13th. So, wow, you've got a busy schedule.
It's busy, yeah. And if they want more details, like you mentioned, it's all at vitalinformation.com.
Okay.
They can get all the gory details of every gig.
Right. And let me catch my breath after that. So why don't we get into a track right now? And this is from Show 'Em Where You Live. This is one of my favorites called Shagadelic Boogaloo.
Okay, yeah. That's a fun one.
And, I want to tell you, my wife, when we go traveling up to Montreal, she makes some mixtapes, and this song is on one of the tapes, so she's digging it too, and a lot of people like it. What was going on in the studio recording this?
Well, this was inspired by Austin Powers, actually.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Just the silliness of some of that 60s music, but mixed in with our love for Booker T and the MGs and just that whole sort of 60s soul jazz sound, but a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So we came up with this tune called the Shagadelic Boogaloo.
All right, we're going to get it right now. This is Vital Information from Show 'Em Where You Live, Shagadelic. Okay, and that is music from Vital Information, the Shagadelic Boogaloo from Show 'Em Where You Live, and we welcome the man who composed that along with his friends. Tom Costner wrote that one, actually, right?
Yeah, that's right. Tom was home hard at work one day.
Okay.
Came up with that piece.
And you guys, I assume you do that one live, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We don't play every night the same songs, but we've been playing that one quite a bit.
So your band, I know you've been together quite a while, but when you go out to play, how do you compose a set list? Are you just calling out song titles and going right into it?
No, we usually figure out ahead of time what we're going to do, though it can change, but we figure out, and it depends on the situation, whether we're playing 2 shows for 2 different audiences or 2 sets for the same audience or 1 long set or whatever. So we have some tunes that we like to play every night, and then there's other variable ones. So, we usually just rough it out and figure it out ahead of time and then go do it. But there's so much improvisation from night to night, even though we might even play the same set a couple of nights in a row. It's always pretty radically different. So we leave a lot of room for spontaneity and improvisation, even between the tunes.
Mm-hmm. How about for our drummers out there who are listening very intently to the words of Steve Smith? How about your preparation before a night, going on stage, and then maybe talk a little bit about how you wind down? Physical, is it wearing on you? Yeah,
it's definitely. I have to warm up before I go on stage. I like to get on stage with my chops feeling really loose and tuned, very highly tuned up. So but I just have a practice pad, so that one of these little practice pads you strap onto your leg, and I go anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes before the set and just play. You thinking of some of the tunes that I'm going to be playing, and then warm up slowly that way, using playing my feet on the floor so everything gets going and gets warmed up. So by the time I get on stage, I'm feeling pretty loose.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no real warm down afterwards, so to speak. I just, the show ends and just, I play the show in the way that the music is designed. There's a lot of ups and downs, so I really don't wear myself out that bad. And the music has so much dynamics that I'm playing lightly, half of the time, strong half the time, but it's not like, say, when I played with Journey and we played 2 hours of full on, on 11 every song, just about, it seemed like, where I really beat myself up. It's a much different situation than that, so I'm not all that worn out at the end of the night, because it requires so much more subtlety to play this music that it's it's pretty balanced set.
And as far as Journey, any
we did a record, and then we were supposed to do a tour, and it just never happened, never got off the ground, and which is the subject of a pretty dreadful VH1 Behind the Music.
Oh, right, I did catch some of that, yeah.
There's a 1 hour version of it, I think, that's just horrible. But then there's an hour and a half version called the director's cut that's quite a bit better, tells the story in a much more complete way. But once that happened, that tour never happened, the guy, especially Neil and Jonathan, they wanted to continue on and get a new singer, and at that point, that just didn't hold any interest for me. I already had so many other projects going, mainly Vital Information and all the other projects, that I just let it go and just said I wasn't interested in that. I mean, if someday it comes up that Steve Perry does want to do a reunion tour, I would consider that, definitely consider that. But the way they are working, this is their full-time job, and I really just have other things I want to do besides that as a full-time job.
Yeah,
they make a lot more money than I do, but at this point, I want to. There's certain things musically that I want to do, regardless of the fact that I'd make a lot more money playing with Journey than what I'm doing.
My special guest right now is drummer, fantastic musician, and always a great guest here to the Upper Room, Steve Smith. You can go right now to vitalinformation.com and get all the information on the releases. And Steve Smith comes out with something just about every 6 months. Plenty of tour dates. He's coming to New York City on Thursday at the Bottom Line in New York City in Greenwich Village. And then he'll be in Connecticut, at Vernon, Connecticut at the Colony on Tuesday night, April 9th. And then there'll be a drum clinic on Saturday, April 13th at Western Connecticut State University, about 40 minutes, and that's sponsored by the Percussive Arts Society. What happens at the drum clinics when you go over there? Well,
the Percussive Arts Society puts on events around the country, and this is what you'd call their local chapter. Every November there's a get-together that takes 3 days, and it's usually held in one city. Say I think it was in Texas, somewhere in Texas last year, and these are like these marathon 3-day events. But then they have the local chapters have days of percussion once a year, and so what you'll experience if you attend one of these is everything from clinics and performance on timpani and marimba to marching drum to drum sets and hand drums, all kinds of percussion. So I go and I'll do a 1 hour demonstration clinic performance, whatever you call it, for the people that are interested in that. And I know Greg Bissonette will be there, and there's probably going to be so many other people that I don't even know. I know Greg's going to be there because he actually came to my gig when we played in L.A. a couple weeks ago, and said that he was going to see me there. So those are always fun, really fun events. And the only thing is you have to be a member of PAS to go to one of these, but I think if you could probably sign up and become a member pretty easily if you're so inclined.
Do you find a lot of the young folks getting into playing live instruments and developing their craft?
Yeah, the drum is such a physical instrument that I don't think it'll ever go the way of, say, keyboards has. That the electronic keyboards have really become very popular, probably more so in many ways than the acoustic piano itself. Drums being so physical, there's just no substitute for hitting a drum with a stick or with your hand, and the whole feeling and visceral experience of the thing is pretty strong. So it's a growing community. There's still a lot of people playing drums, and the hand drum experience, the people playing hand drums, is really growing quite fast in this country now, which is pretty interesting to see that.
Now, when you're traveling on this current tour, how about your drum kit? What are you bringing along for this current tour?
Well, it's a similar kit that I've been using for the last few years. One bass drum, 20-inch bass drum, and then 3 rack toms and 2 floor toms, and I don't know, about 6 or so cymbals. So it's a fairly large setup. 2 snare drums. I just added a little mini snare drum to my setup, an auxiliary snare drum. So it's ever expanding. I brought the little one in because we're doing some music that's like the drum and bass sound that requires a real high-pitched snare drum. Because on the drum and bass music, they take tracks and they speed up the drums so they sound real small. So we're doing some of that in the music. So the kit has expanded slightly.
So if you run into a technical problem along the way and you need to get to a music shop, you pretty easy go on the road?
Yeah, but I actually don't. I carry a bunch of extra things with me, from spare heads to a few spare parts, and carry an extra bass drum pedal, extra hi-hat stand, all this stuff, the things that could break down. So hopefully I won't be having to go visit the local music store.
And also, we should make mention that a great CD was released last year, but you can go to vitalinformation.com and find out how you can pick up the whole catalog. Vital Information, Show 'em Where You Live. And Steve Smith is on tour right now with his great band, Tom Costner, Browne, and Frank Gambale. And okay, we talked about you're always looking for new challenges out there, music-wise. How about some of the people you'd like to spend a couple weeks in the studio with, if you had time and they had time?
Well, I mean, I guess one of the players that I've never played with that I just love to play with is John McLaughlin. Just still have not played with him, so that would be, he's on my wish list.
Right.
Wayne Shorter would be up there. That would be a fantastic experience. So, and I got close to putting a group together with I think would be a great trio, but it just didn't happen. Was Borelli Legren and Jeff Berlin. We tried to do the great French guitar player. Maybe he's not that well known here, but very well known in Europe. And Jeff Berlin, who's just an incredible bass player. But
so it never happened, right?
Yeah, that one didn't happen. No, but I'm gonna keep trying. I got a lot of ideas, so we try one and it doesn't work, and try another one.
So I'm sure there's ample time to get something together. And Steve Smith, as always, what do you like to do before we head off with some of your music? What do you like to do when you put the drumsticks down and kick back at home? Well,
that doesn't happen too often, but
right.
spending time with my girlfriend. I just love that. Just and whatever we do, whether we just go out to dinner, go to the movies, go for a walk, and it's read a book. It just spending some nice, quiet, relaxed time doing that. That's sort of that, I guess. And then I have two kids that are actually they're pretty old now. They're 17 and 20. So
okay.
I like to spend as much time with them as I can as well.
All right. Sounds like a great time if you ever get that chance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get in, we're going to get into a couple cuts from Show 'em Where You Live, but a quick reminder, all the information is on vitalinformation.com. You can go to that right now and get all the information on the upcoming tour dates and releases. Specifically in our area, New York City, Thursday night, the Bottom Line, West 4th Street, 15th West 4th Street, right on the campus of NYU or thereabouts. And also, next Tuesday night, Vital Information with Steve Smith will be at the Colony, Vernon, Connecticut. And if you are a drummer, percussionist, you can sign up with the Percussive Arts Society. The Connecticut Chapter Day is being held on Saturday, April 13th at Western Connecticut State University in Danbury, Connecticut. So much thanks to you, Steve, for spending time with the Upper Room with Joe Kelley on your rare off day.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And I hope you get to. You might go to see Santana tonight.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we talked to Dennis. His family's coming, so he's pretty strapped for tickets at this point. But if we may make it, or a couple of the guys may make it. We'll see. We had a good time last night. We played in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay. And
the home of the Dave Matthews Band, and Carter Beauford came down to the gig.
Oh,
so
wow!
Got to hang with Carter.
Oh, that has to be great when you meet your.
Yeah, that was a really good time. So it's always nice when the people come out and support the music like that. Our peers, the people that we also are inspired by. So it was great that he took some time and came down to say hi and hang out.
Okay, Steve, thanks so much. And let's see, we're going to take you out with Cat and Mouse, followed by Soul Principle.
All right, two good ones. And we usually play those tunes just about every night. So those are favorites that have actually greatly expanded since the recorded versions.
And this should prep them for the upcoming dates in our area. Thanks a lot, Steve.
All right, Joe. Thank you.